Good day, everyone. I'm here to tackle about the marine environment, major sources of marine pollution, the MARPO conventions in its Annex 1 to 6. So, without further ado, let's start with the marine environment. So, marine environment means physical, atmospheric, and biological components, conditions in the factors that interactively determine the state, conditions, and the quality of marine ecosystem. And it means marine environment means sea, coast, seabed, and water masses that water masses, and it includes marine habitats. And also marine habitats are the habitats that also help marine life, and its example of this is the seabed, deep sea, um, intertidal zones, coastal zone, etc., etc. So that's the marine environment. So let's let's tackle the second one, the major sources of marine pollution. So the first one is byproduct industry. Factors negatively impact the environment through air pollutant emissions and webs, toxic substance, toxic waterways um, disposal and water contamination. That's the environmental impact of the byproduct industry. So the second one is the runoff from agricultural pesticides and herbicides. So the runoff can carry pesticides into aquatic environment, while wind can carry them on to the grazing areas, human settlements, and underdeveloped areas, and it also affects the other species. So the third one is the effluent discharge from urban areas. So too much effluent can kill pastures, and also especially where effluent expanded on the old surface, and it polluted the nearby streams and rivers, and also where it ran off the products into waterways. So the last one is the exploitation activities. Um, Natural resources of exploration, mining, and processing have caused different types of ec- damage of environmental damage, which includes ecological disturbance, destruction of natural flora and fauna, pollution of air, water, and land, and instability of soil and rock masses, landscape degradation, desertification, and also global warming. So that's the major sources of marine pollution. So let's move up to the MARPO, or the International Convention for Prevention of Pollution from Ships. And the main of the MARPO is the main international convention covering prevention of pollutant of marine environment by ships from both operational or accidental causes. And the MARPO was adopted on November 2, 1973 at IMO, or International Maritime Organization. So the Protocol of 1978 was adopted in response to a spate of tanker accidents in 1976 to 1977. And as the 1973 MARPO Convention had yet not entered to the force, the 1978 MARPO Protocol absorbed the parent convention, and the combined instrument entered to the force of October 2, 1983. And in 1997, a protocol was adopted to amend the convention in a new Annex 6, and which entered into force on May 19, 2005. And also, the MARPO has been updated by amendments through the years. So the convention includes and regulation aimed preventing and minimizing the pollution from ship both accidental pollution. So that from routine operation, and currently includes 6 technical annexes, special areas with strict controls on operational discharges are included in the most annexes. So Annex 1, Annex 1 is a regulation for prevention of pollution by oil, and it entered to the force of October 2, 1983. So, the Annex 1 covers regulation of pollution by oil, and from operational measures as well as from accidental and discharges. So the 1992 amendments to Annex 1 made it mandatory for the new oil tankers and to have a double hull. So, and it brought in the phase of scheduling for existing to the double hull tankers, which was subsequently revised in 2001 and 2003. So, Annex 2. The Annex 2 is the regulation for the control of pollution by noxious liquid substances in bulk, and it entered to the force to October 2, 1983. So, the details of this discharge are the criteria and measures for the controls of pollution by noxious liquid substances carried in bulk. So, the some 250 substances were evaluated and included into the list appended to the convention. So the discharge of their residue is allowed to only reception facilities until the certain concentration and condition which vary with the category of substance are complied with. And also you cannot discharge it's permitted to discharge a residue containing the noxious liquid substance within 12 miles of the nearest land. So that's the Annex 2. So let's move up to the Annex 3, the prevention of pollution by harmful substances carried by sea in package form, and it entered to the force in July 1, 1992. So this contains a general requirement for the issuing of the standards on packing, marking, labeling, documentation, storage, quantity limitations, acceptations, and notification. And the purpose of this annex is harmful substances. Um, these substances which identified is the marine pollutant in the International Maritime Dangerous Good Codes, or the IMDGC, or which it meets the criteria of Annex 3. So that's the Annex 3, or meet the criteria of in the appendix of Annex 3. So let's go to the Annex 4, prevention by sewage from ships. So it entered to the force of September 27 in 2003. So this annex contains the requirements to control pollutions of the sea. And by sewage, the discharge of the sewage into the sea is prohibited except when the ship has in operation approved by sewage treatment, or when the ship is discharging comminuted and disinfected sewage and using an approved system as a distance of the more 3 nautical miles from the nearest land. Sewage which is not comminuted or disinfected has been discharged at a distance of 12 nautical miles from the nearest land. So that's just the Annex 3. You cannot discharge the sewage at a distance of more than 20 miles from the you can discharge the disinfectant and comminuted pollution in 12 nautical miles from the nearest land. So Annex 5. So the Annex 5 is a prevention of pollution by garbage of the ships, and entered to the force December 31, 1988. So this Annex 5 contains with the different types of garbage of the sea, or specifies the distance from land and also the manner in which they may dispose of. And the most important features of this annex is to complete the ban imposed of the disposal into the sea in all forms of access. So that is the Annex 5, and the last one, the Annex 6, the prevention of air pollutions from ship, and it entered to the force May 19, 2005. So the Annex 6 sets a limits on sulfur and oxide and nitrogen oxide emission from the ship exhaust, and also um, prohibits the deliberate emissions of ozone depleting substance, and its designated emission control areas set more stringent standards of SOx and NOx. In particular matter, a chapter adopted in 2011 and covers a mandatory technical and operational energy efficient measures aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emission from ships. So that's all. That's the annexes, the 1 to 6, and the marine, major marine pollution and the marine environment. So thank you guys. Click at the subscribe button and like.